Hello, welcome to the boardroom and the universe where strategy and soul connect. What happens when a woman who lives by strategy sits down with a woman who lives by flow? You get real, raw, and deep, honest conversations that will challenge the way you think, lead, and move through life. I'm Nicole George, and this is Chris Melville. We are two women who left the corporate world to build something bigger. I lead with the universe, Chris leads with the boardroom. Together, we are the yin and the yang. Each episode, we will go head to head on tension topics no one is talking about. Two perspectives, one conversation, but zero judgment. This is not about who's right. This is about expanding how you lead in business, in life, and in yourself, because the most sovereign CEOs know how to hold both. Welcome. So, Chris, for those who don't know you, why don't you go ahead and share a little bit about your journey in the corporate world, and then I will do the same.
Okay, first of all, I don't remember you telling me that I can't be right on these calls.
We
I don't
are
know what
right,
I'm
just in our own
gonna
way.
put. Right. So I come from over 30 years in corporate world, and I have had a lot of different experiences. So I have worked in international PR. I have worked for a theatrical literary agency. I have worked for a buy and build hedge fund, and I've worked for a company involved in testing, inspection, and certification in things like defense and oil and gas and all these different interesting areas. Most of the time, 95% of the time, I've worked with founders, directly with the founders or with the C-suite. So I come at all of this from the boardroom aspect with the planning and the strategy and all those lovely things that we're going to talk about. Now, I am a business mentor and mindset coach, predominantly with coaches and nutritional therapists, but with solopreneurs in general. And I help people who understand that either from a mindset perspective or from a gap in their business knowledge, they are the block in their business. Speak.
Yes. All right. I'm Nicole George. Chris, I forgot to say, she is in lovely the UK, and I am here in the United States. So we're in two different parts of the world, but she is originally from the US, from Vegas. And I am here in California, in sunny Southern California in San Diego. I originally was a nurse and nurse manager for over 18 years in neonatal intensive care units. I have built a NICU from the ground up. I have led very large teams and all of that, only to find that living in the corporate world and working there was not aligned with my body. I was asked to work 50 to 60-hour weeks, being on call 24/7. There was zero balance. But even within that, I led my teams and they were very happy. I had the best engagement scores in the organization. And the CEO came to me one day and said, "How did you do it? You took these very unhappy people and made them happier." And I said, "Well, I show up, I engage, I actually care deeply about them on a personal level." And to be honest with you, they didn't really like that. And it really made me realize how many people in this world are silenced and are unable to live in their sovereign frequency because of red tape, because of their lack of ability to tap into intuition. And so I left the industry to build Sovereign so that we could have beautiful women all around the globe share their stories of awakening and how they stand in their sovereign frequency. And so now I'm deeply, deeply attuned to my own intuition, my spirit team in the universe. And unlike Chris, I don't have data and spreadsheets like she does. I have some, but they're all in my intuitive way. So we're going to be talking about that today. So the concept of our show today is called The Roadmap and the Pull versus the Pull. So Chris always builds roadmaps where you have data points and things like that. She has a strategic plan, whereas I follow the pull and the nudges of the universe. And although we are both very established in our own ways, we both still feed off of each other in different ways. And so even though I may not sit down with a plan, through her experiences and her knowledge, I learn more about planning and how it can help me. And then she also learns from me about how she can step more into her intuition and things like that. So, without further ado, Chris, why don't we talk a little bit about feelings, if you will, for lack of a better word. When you sit down to plan, Chris, do you get excited? Does it light you up, or do you feel more constrained by it?
No, I love to plan. The way that I think about it and the analogy I use with clients quite often is, let's say I've just come back from Rome for my 60th birthday. Um, and there was a lot of planning that went into the trip. And if you are, it wasn't a big trip, it was a long weekend, but let's say I was going to the Maldives for 2 weeks to celebrate my 60th, and it was costing an awful lot of money, which our businesses do, right? You wouldn't just kind of rock up at the airport with a suitcase and your passport and kind of hope that you can get on a flight and hope that when you get off the flight that you can get to a nice hotel and hope that while you're in the hotel, not only does it have everything you need, but it's really convenient for any excursions that you might want to do. You plan it. You spend a lot of time planning it because it's something that is important to you. So yeah, planning lights me up 100%.
And I'm chuckling, Chris, because this is totally who I am. I would book a flight and a hotel, but everything else I wouldn't. This is where we do life so differently, and this is how it also shows up in business. So for me, my family and I, before things got a little crazy here in the US, every year we would go to Monterey, which is in California. And now we do staycations just in a different way for various reasons because of food and celiac disease and all of that. But this last staycation, we had the time off and we had zero plan till the night before. We had ideas of what we wanted to do that intuitively came to us throughout the year because we knew we were going to take this trip, but we did not plan anything or book anything until literally the week before. And this is how yeah, I think part of what people don't realize is when you trust in the universe versus planning like that. For me, when I do an extensive amount of planning, that brings on a level of perhaps having to lean into disappointment, right? So let's say I did book an excursion, and what if that excursion got canceled? Then I have to lean into disappointment. Whereas if I'm flexible, then I'm not having to shift, pivot, figure that out. And so I actually don't like to plan on trips for that reason. What if I'm not feeling as well that day? Maybe I'm more
Mm.
tired. And so that's where my flow comes into play versus I need to do this on this day and this on that day and this on that day. So what do you think about that when I frame it in the terms of disappointment, flow, shifting, changing, pivoting? What do you think about that?
So it reminds me of something my ex-mother-in-law said to me a long time ago. She never got excited about anything because she didn't want to be disappointed. It's kind of like, oh my God, I'm sad not to get excited about things. But Nicole will know this because we speak practically every day. A couple of weeks ago, we had a death in the family, and it meant that everything kind of went on the back burner. And a couple of days before we left for Rome, I was ready to cancel the trip because I had not planned anything. We were going to Rome the beginning of June. It's going to be hot. It's going to be really crowded. It's full of tourists. And there were just a couple of things we wanted to do. We gave ourselves like the Thursday and the Sunday. We didn't make any plans for that. But we wanted to go to Pompeii and we wanted to do like the Colosseum and the Forum and the Palatine Hill. And I hadn't done anything about booking. And I was so overwhelmed by all the rest of the stuff that was going on in my personal life that little bit of stress over we don't have anything booked, we're not going to be able to get anything booked, we're not going to be able to do the two things that we want to do when we go to Rome. It was the tipping edge for me. So completely different. You're worried about disappointment. I'm feeling overwhelmed because I don't have even like the rudiments of a plan in place. I don't need to book out every single hour of what we're doing, right? 4 days, two of them were open. That's fine. It's just like we're only going for 4 days. Let's pick two things, one or two things we know we want to do. Make sure that we do it. Yeah. I don't want
So,
to spend all that money going to Rome
yeah.
and then come back having done nothing but maybe a bit of walking around and eating some good pasta. Yeah.
So when I look at these types of things, I think for me, the disappointment isn't quite the right definition for me. So let me explain what I mean by disappointment. If I were in your situation, I went to Rome unplanned and then I couldn't get any excursions, I would say to myself, that means I have to come back. It's inviting me to come back
Mm,
because it clearly didn't want me to do those excursions at that time. I tap into divine timing and trusting in where I'm supposed to be and that everything is happening for me, right? And so, where do you think emotionally that brought you that pull of not having anything planned that you would rather cancel it than go? So what about that situation? Like if you couldn't have booked anything, like everything was solidly booked, would you have really not gone and canceled?
no, we would have gone. I mean, honestly, I didn't even book. I booked, I think I booked our Colosseum tour before we went. I didn't book Pompeii until after we got there. So we got there on Thursday. We were going to Pompeii on Friday. We looked at train tickets and they were really expensive. We're like, let's just rent a car. And it's like, okay, great. Yeah, let's rent a car. And then we can drive from Pompeii down to Naples, which is like 20 minutes. And Naples is the home of pizza. So we'll go to Naples and we'll have some pizza. And we could go for a walk along the harbor, which we did, which was lovely. I wouldn't have booked it. I just would have been, we would have found something to do. But for me, it's so much more relaxing to get off a plane and say, yeah, I know what we're going to do. And there's another thing I want to share with you as well. A few years ago, I went to Barcelona with one of my closest friends, and I was really busy at work, and she organized the whole trip for us, right? She booked everything, she paid for everything, and I paid her back. And she, like made plans for stuff that we were going to do. She'd been to Barcelona before, so she's like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And as a thank you, before we went, I found the most amazing event. And I didn't tell her what it was. I'm just like, I'm taking you somewhere this evening as a thank you. And it was a little side chapel off a larger church in the middle of Madrid. It was evening, everything was lit up by candlelight, and there were three very famous classical guitarists that put on this little concert, and it was completely sold out by the time, I was lucky I got the tickets because it was sold out by the time we got there. And she was so blown away by it and she loved it. It was just like, it was the perfect gift to give her. And to be able to do that, I took the time, I did the research, I found something that I thought she would really like. And that would be special and different from like, oh, I could have taken her for a nice dinner to say thank you. But
Mhm.
because I did the planning, I was able to do this. And she still talks about that concert that we went to, even now.
I love that so much. I want to key in on one word
Mm,
that you said. You find it relaxing to plan. And I find it relaxing to not plan. Right? And so that's the commonality that we have, that there is no right and no wrong. It is
mm,
the energy behind how we are as people and CEOs that we need to tap into. Whatever your relaxing way is, there
yeah.
is no right or wrong way to do it. You just need to honor what relaxes you.
Yes.
What causes your nervous system to come down to a place of ease, right? So for
Mm.
you, planning and so you're able to shift and pivot because you are relaxed,
Yeah.
right? And I'm able to shift and pivot because I'm relaxed without a
Mm.
plan. And so it's this yin and this yang, but it's honoring who we are as people and our energetic body and what makes us feel safe and what makes us feel creative and what makes us good decision makers. That's the whole point of this show is to show you that you can have two very different types of being a CEO, but still be very, very successful in it. It's following your nudges and following what feels good to you, not what feels good to everybody else, right? What felt good to you for your friend in going to Madrid was getting that little chapel thing for her and getting
Yeah.
out to see that. And that's what lit you up in that moment. And like you said, that energy carried through. She still talks about it today. That's what's important. And so, instead of one of the mistakes that, and I know you've said this before to me on some of our podcast shows, is one of the mistakes people run into is feeling like they have to do this on socials. They have to have this, they have to do that. And one of the topics we'll be talking about on this show is whether or not you have to have an email list. Chris has one. I don't. I own a magazine and we don't have a subscriber list. Can you imagine that? So stay tuned for that episode. But there is no formula of have to. It is your way of doing things, right? And your way of operating your roadmap. Wouldn't you say, Chris?
100%. And I talk to this point a lot with my clients because it's like, look, I'm going to tell you a way that works for a lot of people, but you have to decide if it works for you or not. I think for me, it's more about the self-awareness, right? You have to be self-aware. You have to know your strengths. You have to know your weaknesses. So some people are brilliant on social media. They absolutely smash it. Other people hate it. And it comes across, especially if they're trying to do anything live or any video work, it comes across and you can see that they're uncomfortable. Who wants to buy from somebody who looks uncomfortable every time you see them? All right. It's like if you wanted to do public speaking, some people are amazing at it, some people aren't. And the idea of getting on a stage absolutely scares them to death. They would get more clients if they could get onto that stage, but only if they can get onto that stage in a comfortable state and show who they are and connect with your audience. So
Yes.
it's not just about I need to run my business the way that feels easy and in flow for me. It's also when you force things, your audience sees that and they're not going to want to work with you anyways, because there's just like, there's this dichotomy there. There's this, you don't know what's wrong, but it's just, there's something off. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's something off. So yeah, the most important thing I think we have to have is this self-awareness.
Yes, for sure. I don't know if you've had this experience. I'm pretty sure you have. Whenever I force things, I not only have to undo all the things that I forced, but then I have to do double the work because then I have to redo it again. So I am often pausing to make sure that it is the most aligned action because part of my human design, I actually have two waves. I have the subtle wave and an emotional wave. So although I'm gung ho and I'm like, yes, let's do this. And it's so funny when we were building this show. I was so animated and excited, and I wanted to film it that next week. And then Chris had the death in her family, and then I'm patiently waiting, and I'm like, okay, okay, okay. And then we were supposed to record earlier this week, and she had some internet issues, and I'm like, Chris, the universe is telling us not today. And here your internet's beautiful today, right? They were having some crazy thunderstorms. I'm like, the universe is like sending down lightning bolts telling us not to do this today, right? But the
And
part of
meanwhile,
me,
I'm sat here going, oh my God, we have to get this done because it's scheduled. And I don't know when I have time later this week.
right, right. So there's
We'll just
this,
tough it out.
yes, yes. And I had to tell her, Chris, no, no, like, let's not force it. Like, so this is how you can learn from our two ways of being. Chris and I are dear friends, so we can talk to each other like that. But you might have a client that way, or you yourself might be a little pushier on something, and you might need to ask yourself, how can I pause a little bit? Or you might be more like me, where you're in flow in the universe, and you might need a little bit of a nudge and a push from somebody. So having
Yeah.
the yang in your business somehow, whether it's getting a business mentor, or a coach or somebody that you can bounce ideas off of that can balance you out is super duper important. Of course, Chris is always available and
Yeah.
great to to work with. She is our in-house coach here at Sovereign Magazine. She has brought us so far. And she works with all of our contributors in our community. So all different types of people she's used to working with. And she really meets you where you're at. She doesn't require you to do all the sheets. She figured out really quickly that I cannot fill out her 6-week planning sheet. It just is not going to work for me. But back to what I was going to say, in planning this show, Chris was like, what are our topics? I need them mapped out for a year. Like she was very structured and I was just like, I don't know. Like what's the first one, right? I was just more in flow, but the structure also helps me as well because then when it is time for me to show up, I'm not scrambling. So there is a balance that needs to happen and that's what we're trying to teach you here on this show is that you may be the boardroom or you may be the universe, but there needs to be a balance of both to help propel you to that next level. Do you have any parting words for today, Chris, before we go?
I think as well, from my perspective, one of the reasons I wanted to know what the topics were is because I was thinking about the audience, right? And it's not just about being prepared for it. It's also how do we grow this? Do we just jump from topic to topic, or do we start with, we've started today with something that's very basic. It's like, are you making plans? Are you following like your nudges? Because everything for me starts to build off of that. This is a foundational piece. And I want there to be a journey in this. I don't want somebody kind of coming to something and going, oh, okay, but I feel like I don't understand that because, not knowing why they don't understand it and then getting down on themselves. So it's like if we start with the basics and then we can build on that from my perspective, it gives the audience a better experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to be prepared, but the whole point of like mapping it out for a long point was like, let's build on this. Let's like start people somewhere. Let's meet them where they're starting and let's take it up gradually so people don't feel overwhelmed when they watch it or don't feel out of their depth or worse, start to blame themselves and think this doesn't make any sense to me. There's something wrong with me.
Yes, and I completely agree with that. I want people to use this as a form of coaching. They can go step by step and look at each episode and dissect themselves, dissect their business.
Yeah.
Like next time, we're going to be talking about the spreadsheet versus the signs and
Mhm.
really going into what evidence do you have in your business? I have
Yeah.
different evidence, right? I go by universal evidence, I go by signs. Obviously, I look at data points as well, but that's not my um main source of data. I use what I call divine data. And Chris uses, she does market research and she looks at her spreadsheets and all of that. And there's no right or wrong answer, but when we are able to name it, for me, once I was able to name why we were different, then it settled in my body differently as to why I feel so different than most people. I feel like I'm this like alien because so many times in the business, I have heard from people, how did you come up with that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just made it up myself. And they were like, that's brilliant. And I'm like, oh, well, thanks. I didn't know so, but thank you. But it's beginning to learn to trust yourself in whatever method you have. And the fact that we have mapped this out for a year, building on each episode is extremely important. And we hope you find these beneficial. So if you do, please comment below. If there's a topic that you would love us to talk about, let us know. We'll add it. Right now, we're going to schedule these once a month. If you're wanting them more, please let us know in the comments because otherwise we're going to just continue to do them once a month. But we want to hear from you. We want this to be engaging. We want there to be some sort of interaction of what you would like to hear because we're only coming from our perspective. But this is really a gift to you from two beautiful women in this world who have built very successful businesses and are here to help you understand how you can run your own. All right.
And maybe over the year they'll get to see me get a better relationship with my intuition because I've always said, haven't I have a terrible relationship with my intuition.
Yes, and maybe I'll get better at my spreadsheets
Ah, well.
and my planning. And I mean, I just have to say, part of the reason I can't do spreadsheets and stuff like that is my ADHD. I just don't stick with it. That's part of my problem. It's just like I just can't keep up with something, anything. Journaling, I never stick with one thing. I'm always all over the place. But regardless. Okay, so we will be back next month, which is July. We will be recording the spreadsheet and versus the signs. And we would love to hear from you in the comments below. This will be
Definitely.
on Substack and YouTube, and little clips will be out on all of our socials. But you can find me at The Sovereign Magazine on all the platforms except TikTok, because I don't like that platform. And Chris is Chris_Melville_ coaching on all her channels. All right. Thank you so much for being here today, and we will see you on the next one.
All right. Thanks for having us. Bye.